Hey guys, Jeremy here. We're going to discuss two things that are very much of note in terms of what we can expect from the physics engine in Halo Infinite today. But before we get into the trailer, I'd like to talk about the Havoc engine. Zepiel referred me to the Senior Developer Relations Engineer over at Havoc Engine's software development team, Daniel Janetti. I'm probably butchering that. Now, I bring this up because the Havoc engine is the engine that was used in Halo 3 to make it, have all the physical interactions. If you smack a barrel, it rolls over, knocks over and rolls, and it can go flying off on a grav lift, etc., etc. When you kill a Spartan with a grenade, they go flying, their body flops, they land in the river, like I talked about last time, float off the sea, what have you. That physics engine was Havoc. Everything that did was because of the Havoc engine. Now, from 2015 to 2016, right about the same time as Microsoft bought the Havoc engine, and on top of that, 343 was launching Halo 5, we know for certain that 343 Industries was already working on the Slipspace engine. Could it be that Microsoft purchased the Havoc engine because they were looking for cutting-edge next-generation tech to build a new engine from the ground up? I can't say for sure, but the fact that the Senior Developer Relations Engineer, whose responsibility was to directly support AAA games, customers using Havoc technology, provide on-site assistance with product customization/optimization, and contribute to Havoc SDK product development, was subsequently hired to work at 343 Industries a year later, where his current title is now Principal Software Engineer, Architect, Game Foundation. This guy is building the engine for Halo Infinite and leveraging Havoc's engine technology to maximize its capabilities. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way... No, just kidding, there's more. I actually have an article of this man specifically talking about the groundbreaking engine work, leading to him being quoted to say that the Infinite Slipspace engine is, and I quote, the most cutting-edge AAA engine on the planet. That's a pretty bolsterous claim, wouldn't you think? I don't know, guys. Something seems afoot here. Now onto the topic of the trailer, there's one more thing. I want one word to be on your mind as we take a look at this trailer. Weight. Consider the weight of the pilot. Consider the weight of the objects that move around, and definitely consider the weight of the 7-foot-tall super soldier with 1,000 pounds of armor. Before we get too deep into this, I'd like to say that essentially anything we see in this particular trailer could very well just be pre-rendered effects. We know for certain that this is the opening cutscene from Halo Infinite, so it's important to divulge that fact, as cutscenes are essentially staged scenarios where physics aren't necessarily in play, but faked to appear seamless. Not saying it is for certain, but we have to kind of accept that that's very likely here. Starting off the trailer initially, I actually just kind of want to point out something that's almost completely irrelevant, but a nice thing for the observant viewer. If you watch in the top left here, you can actually see the object that impacts the Pelican just a second or so later. We also see several pieces of the pilot's equipment attached to him sort of moving naturally with his movements. Watch as the pilot reaches this door and pulls with all of his strength to open it. There's a real feeling of resistance there, and it indicates a thematic trend that the trailer does actually follow up on. This next shot is a lot of fun to take in. This vent leak, it's spewing all over the place, knocking things all over the place, and causing the hose to flail wildly as well. The pilot places a box on the chair to get some height to reach the valve for the vent. And just as he manages to close the air pressure valve, he comes tumbling down, and with him the box, which releases a ton of supplies, such paperwork and rations, etc., etc. Now we watch slowly here as something trickles out of his pocket. Now before we get into this excellent scene, I'd like to talk about this. The holographic puck that comes out of his pocket actually seems to just awkwardly snap into place, and then it rolls. Interesting thing to notice, and I do actually, again, have Zepial on the Halo Infinite Easter egg hunt Discord to thank for spotting this. Now that we've wiped our tears for Brohammer, let's talk about his breath here. Remember the Rhino's breath in the last trailer? I'm not saying it's a certainty, but it's a trend for sure. Shout out again to Zepial here for spotting this. I'm particularly a fan of this shot of the frosted over window because you can actually see beyond the layer ever so slightly that the space junk is floating out there. Not to mention, you can actually spot the Chief before he's actually revealed. Now, part of me really wants to think that everything could be simulated physics, but I'm doubtful that everything in space is utilizing that tech. It's likely scripted. And if not, I'm thoroughly impressed with what I'm seeing. Hey, wait a second. Is this tool or whatever this could be the same object as in the reveal trailer in the radio tent? Huh. Now, as Chief drops here, we have a lot to see. Every single thing shifts. I love this so much because it's just so beautifully executed. Even the light source seems to shift, and the light projection itself does seem to compensate for it. Now, skipping a little bit here to save time, we have Chief waking up and seamlessly opening the door that the pilot had a lot of trouble opening before. Now we've got problems, but Chief's obviously ready to take them all on. I have to pause here just to kind of admire the imperfections in his armor. He really needs to stop taking damage on his left chest plate. It's getting old, Chief. Are those sunspots? Mr. Guns would be very disappointed in you, Chief. Now we have the pilot shutting himself back into the cabin. I'm thinking maybe in the time since the pilot had that breach in the beginning of the trailer, he's actually fixed the door and hasn't simply been too weak. Now, before the bay doors have even opened yet, we can actually see this box shifting slightly on the left here, indicating that the Pelican is moving slightly? Is the Pelican being pulled into a tractor beam here? Why would that be moving? Then just like that, the Chief's right back into action. Doesn't matter what's going on, he might have just been taking a nap, but he's going to jump right into it. There's definitely a lot of offhand focus on making the physics of this portion feel real. There's a legitimate weight to everything that we're seeing, and every movement that's made feels right and meaningful. I'm not going to act like this does anything to truly solidify my theories about the engine, but I do think that there's some evidence that 343 was trying to continuously push us in this direction. Now that we're kind of wrapped up with the breakdown of the trailer here, I do want to say, again, I'm not 100% convinced that anything we saw here is anything but pre-rendered cutscene magic, and it's very likely not indicative of what the engine is capable of. I just think there's a thematic similarity that's compelling for me to make a video on, as compared to the first trailer that we got back in E3 2018. I think that there's kind of enough correlation for me to think that there could be connections here. There could be some very deliberate connections here. But we don't know for sure, so unfortunately we're left to speculate. But hey, that's what I'm kind of here for. I'm going to go ahead and leave this at that. But again, guys, first off, before I go ahead and end this video, I'd like to say thank you guys so much for coming out and watching that last video. I was actually shocked by how many people showed up and watch the video. As of writing this, or rather recording this, it's at 600 views. I didn't expect that. I really, really didn't. I actually gained 8 subscribers yesterday just on that trailer alone. That's never happened to me before. I've never had anything like that. That's insane, and I'm so excited that this is kind of working out, that people are definitely interested in what I have to say. So I'm definitely going to continue to do this. I'm going to continue to do this as much as I possibly can. That doesn't mean I'm not going to have other stuff on the channel here, and if you hit that sub button and you find that I'm uploading some wacky, like, Uno Let's Plays or something like that, just know that I do produce other types of content. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Do subscribe. It helps out, and if you enjoyed it, tell your friends, okay? Tell your friends about this nerdy guy who breaks down Halo trailers. I'm sure they'll really be excited to hear about it. You guys have a good one.